and we are going live on Skills Not Pills movement on this beautiful Friday, June 29th with Astrum Lux Lucis. And today's topic is The Phoenix Rises. So welcome, Astrum.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yay.
Here.
So Astrum is a rock star, media mogul, and visionary leader that serves to inspire, uplift, and empower people to greatness through her unique brand of conscious rock music with her band One World Revolution, through her media company AstraLux Media, and through the tools and techniques she uses on a daily basis through her work in conscious transformation. She is a level 1 certified conscious transformation energy practitioner and also facilitates inner matrix meditation groups online. So Astrum's story is one of self-discovery, self-empowerment, and death and rebirth. Rising up from the ashes of depression and drug addiction, she now knows a life of greatness through mindfulness practices and an unwavering commitment to her internal development. And you can reach her at astrumluxlucis.com. So welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here with us today. And you know, I've known Astrum personally for, I don't know, at least over a year now, and experienced her healing sessions, which were like, wow, pretty amazing, and heard your powerful stories. So tell us your story. You know, where were you before the Astrum that we know today?
Wow. Completely different person, completely different world. Grew up a lot with depression, didn't really understand it. Got the label a couple times, even got the label of bipolar once, and I definitely didn't buy that one. And just very angry young person, carried into my adulthood up and probably till about 4 years ago when I discovered the work of conscious transformation and just realized like how depressed and angry that I was. But for me, it was more of I read this great poem, I guess it was, or story by Jeff Foster that talked about divine suicide. And basically what that is that you're at a place in your life where you are just so absolutely fed up, disgusted, tired of absolutely everything. And it's not really that you want to die, it's that you just want something to be different. And when I read this, I had just come through a series of 18 months where I had lost 2 of my dogs, my cat, my grandmother, and I myself was almost killed in an accident that happened here in Austin, Texas during South by Southwest. And I was done. I was just like, I'm so over this life. Like, I have nothing left to live for. Everything I've ever loved is gone. And just didn't want to be here anymore. And I kind of weirdly enough reached out on Facebook. I don't even know how that happened. And some total, stranger. I mean, we're friends on Facebook, but I don't know who this person is. I've never met them, whatever. We just probably, I think, shared like veganism in common and befriended each other. And she reached out and sent me this poem by Jeff Foster, The Divine Suicide. And I read it and I just like lost it because I was like, yeah, like that's my story. My story is like, I don't want to die. I just don't want to keep living this life. But I didn't know how to step into anything different. And so it's interesting that I guess when you get to that point of absolute, just throw up the white flag, surrender, at that point, you've been beaten down and broken so much that the universe is like, now you're ready, young one. Now you're ready to hear what we've been trying to tell you all along, So it just starts sending you the teachers and sending you the information. And so I got into Jeff Foster for a little bit and read some of his stuff and just was kind of blown away by that. And then after every one of my animals or somebody dies or something significant, big and traumatic or whatever in life happens, I'll usually go to a psychic and get a reading and just try to get some kind of closure, confirmation, something, validation, whatever, And, this lady here in Austin did a reading and she was like, Basically, I'm in coyote medicine. I'm chasing my tail, and I'm at a crossroads, and I can choose to step into my greatness, or I can continue chasing my tail. And I didn't want to hear any of that. I'm like, hey, whatever, you don't know what you're talking about, psychic lady, you know. So,
That's
but
the
she's like,
coyote medicine interfering with that message being received.
yeah, yeah. So she was like, go to some of the psychic fairs in town and just listen to the speakers, you know. And so I went, like reluctantly drugged myself to one of these things and listened to all the speakers. I'm like, yeah, whatever, blah, blah, blah. These people are all happy because they already have what they want or whatever. You know, I was always looking for the external to fulfill the internal. You know, I didn't realize it was the other way around. And at one of these fairs, I ended up meeting a guy named Jason Schwartz, who's one of the leaders in the Austin Conscious Transformation Circle here group. And he told me, he did an energy session on me. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. What is this thing that just happened to me? It was like an acid trip without all the side effects, you know, and just really dug it. And he told me about the book, and I got the book and read the book, The Inner Matrix. And that kind of just was like, oh, okay. All right. I'm starting to get this stuff now. And, you know, it's kind of a little aside that I knew kind of this was my path was my dog, my puppy, my soulmate puppy. I call him my soul puppy. He died on May 22nd, 2014. And so I'm one of these like cover to cover people. When I get a book, I read it. I read the credits. I read where it was printed, everything that happened, right? So I finished reading this book. I get to the very last page, and on the back it says, this book was printed on May 22nd, 2014. And I just like fell to my knees, completely lost it. And was like, okay, I guess this is where I'm supposed to be, you know, and ended up, it was a couple weeks later, Joey Klein, who's the author of The Inner Matrix and the founder of Conscious Transformation, was coming to Austin to do one of his weekend programs. And I reluctantly went, you know, I was like arms crossed. It's a Friday night to a Sunday night and an intensive weekend workshop. And Friday night, I'm like arms crossed, like, all right, dude, you've got till Sunday night to radically change my life, or Monday morning, I'm out of here. I'm done with this planet. I'm done with this life. I'm moving on to the next. All right. And, you know, Sunday night, I was just like, okay, I get it. I get it. Like, I'm the creator of my world. My thoughts create things. The emotion fuels it. And whatever I'm wanting is already inside of me. I just need to figure out how to access that. And so I've been on this 4-year journey now of just really learning how to grasp the concept of, one, I'm the creator of my own reality, and that the way I do that is through my emotional state. Like Joey has a saying, state creates. And so it's just really taking on that concept, because that's something that we are not taught in any way, shape, or form. We're taught like, oh, you go to college, get your degree, get your cushy job, get your wife, kids, the family pet, whatever, and, retire 65 if you're lucky. And that's the American dream of happiness and success. And I've never wanted any of that. Like, that just never looked good to me. But because I'm sort of this leader, visionary kind of person, I have to create it myself, but I don't know necessarily what I wanted to create. I needed to also get clarity of my vision.
I want to talk about that for a second, because I know a little bit about your upbringing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just say that because you're probably, if a parent wanted an easy child, like that, let's just say that was their dream. I was like, I want an easy child that does what I tell it to do. You would be the nightmare, like,
yes,
in that scenario. But if a parent wanted a child that was like a go-getter and, charting a whole new way through life and figuring things out and exploring and adventurous, well, you'd be like the ideal kid. So,
yeah.
Isn't this all about expectations? I mean, tell us a little bit about whatever you feel like you want to share about your upbringing and kind of who you were and how you started your journey of addiction.
Yeah. Well, so I'm an only child. which I've always been grateful for, because I just don't play well with others. Like, I know this about myself. Like I'm single and I love it. You know, I was in an 8-year marriage, and I love the person dearly. We're the best of friends to this day. In fact, our relationship is even better than it's ever been. But I just really enjoy my own company, you know, and I don't think a lot of people can say that. It's not that I enjoy being alone, because I do have close people that I enjoy spending time with, but I do enjoy my own company. Like, I'm never bored, you know? So as a kid, and also I was a corporate brat. So my dad worked for Exxon, and so we started traveling a lot. You know, we never lived anywhere longer than 3 years, and usually it was like a 6-month to a year thing, and we'd be packing up and moving. So continually through my life, you know, I've been moving. I had to make new friends. There was nothing really constant in my life. The only constants I had early on were music, because I came from somewhat of a music family. My grandmother played upright bass until she was like 91. And she got dementia. My mom's been playing piano since she was 4 years old, and she has perfect pitch. So there was always a piano in the house. There was always music going on. And in grade school, I picked up different instruments and played music and stuff. And then I always had pets in my life. I always had animals. So I received my my love through my animals, because my parents, while they loved me to the best of their capacity, it was more of a physical showing of love, like not like in like touching physical, but by means of like I was taken care of in physical ways, like roof over my head, clothing, shelter, always got whatever I wanted pretty much. But like I couldn't go to them for emotional things or mental things. There just was no connection there. And so there was sort of this emotional dissonance. So I got my love fix from my animals, which is probably why I'm really attached to them. And when they die, it's very traumatic for me. And so then after I discovered that I wanted to be a rock star in like 8th grade, after seeing the Go-Go's on MTV, and I told my dad, yeah, like I was playing alto saxophone at the time and in the school band. And I'm like, yeah, I want to get a drum set and be the Go-Go's next drummer. And like they reluctantly, you know, kind of got me the drum set. Oh, that's cute, you know. And then there was kind of this story that started coming about of, well, you know, you got to realize that, you know, being a rock star, you know, is like winning the lottery. Like you have a 1 in a million chance, and, you know, you got to be practical and look for something practical, and you can do that as a hobby, and that'll be a cute little hobby. And, you know, why do you want to be a musician anyhow? Because they're all usually losers and drug addicts. I'm like, oh, okay. So I have to become a loser and a drug addict to become a rock star. Okay, I can do that, you know. So, you know, in 8th grade, I started smoking cigarettes because I saw the Go-Go's, you know, a couple of them smoked cigarettes. There was like my first concert ever. And I saw them, you know, smoking cigarettes. Oh, okay, I got to start smoking. So I started smoking cigarettes. It was nasty. And I did that for like another 10 years. Don't even know why, because it's really disgusting. And then in high school, because I was just so out there and so wild anyhow, just like free spirited, like didn't really care what people thought of me, because I figured I'm going to move anyhow, so it doesn't matter. You know, we're going to be like short-term friends. So they always thought I was on drugs anyhow because I was so weird, you know?
Yeah, they think you're weird. They're like totally the stranger that comes in from out of town, and
yeah,
they don't know. They've all known each other forever, and they don't know you. And
right. Here's this weird kid from New Jersey, whatever, you know, and so, you know, I remember them inviting me, hey, you want to come to lunch? We're going out to the tracks. I'm like, okay, I don't know what that is, but I'll go. And then they're like, yeah, we're going to get high. I'm like, okay, I don't know what that is either, but I'll go, you know. But I pretended like I knew, because I didn't want to look like now, like these are like my new friends. And I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm talking about or what I'm doing. Like, oh, yeah, I party, yeah, whatever, you know. And I remember like my first time smoking weed, I didn't know that I was stoned out of my freaking mind, you know. Like I just remember like walking back from the tracks, and like everything was kind of like bumpy, and I had to kind of like, whoa, what's going on here, you know. But I knew I liked something about it, you know. And then with me, because I do have this sort of all or nothing personality, like it was gone, it was over for me. I was totally in. So I was like, oh, how can I get more of this? How can I do more of this? Like, yeah, weed, that. And then it became like tripping on acid, you know, like every Friday, FRY day in school, you know. This was back in high school when they had smoking sections in the high school. So, you go and you hook up with your people and it's like, hey, we got some shrooms or we got some acid. We're going to fry. It's Friday. Woo. Okay, great. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to try it, and, ended up just tripping balls every Friday in school, and just going down this crazy downward spiral path. I drank, I don't know how you say it. I drank a little bit alcohol, but I would always, because I do things to excess, I would puke, and I don't like puking.
So you found a natural boundary there.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not going to do that, because every time I do, I puke, and it's not fun, And I don't necessarily like the feeling of not being in control of my body. Sort of felt like out of control. So my things were smoking weed and tripping. And I guess after high school, I kind of stopped tripping a little bit. And I did cocaine a little bit. Like my first time ever doing cocaine was like a mound, this huge mound, just me and my friend and some dude we met through the pizza parlor, so you think about the life endangering things I've put myself through. And this is before even turning 21,
Wow.
And just like doing this mound of coke and then rolling it up in joints and just being like, cocaine,
Wow. So you had quite a lot of experiences where you were, getting an exciting new experience that you hadn't had before.
Mm.
And then, testing the limits of it. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And so now, in a way, you're kind of doing that again, but this is different because this conscious transformation work, you've got to be present with what is.
Yeah.
So now, because a lot of people are on these drugs, or they do drugs, or they smoke pot, like a lot of people into pot right now. And I'm not innocent. I've smoked pot, people. They probably think Carrie Hummingbird, she doesn't do that. She's too innocent. No, I did that a lot of my life. I thought that same thing. I was in high school. I got involved with it in college, and a little bit after. And then I had kids, and I became a grown up. So I didn't do that anymore. But my son thinks it's the teenagers. They all right now. There's a whole wave of teenagers. Like all of those high school age kids that just are really into it. And there's a lot of adults into it now too.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to me because I got off of that stuff because it takes you out of presence with what is. And it puts you in an altered reality, which I think, with shamanism, I definitely see the benefit of being in altered states of consciousness, because you can receive more information that way, more healing, more guidance. But I've also learned that you can reach altered states of consciousness without drugs.
Yeah.
With just breath work, with meditation, with, fasting. There's lots of ways to get altered states of consciousness that you can get information.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your journey of, stepping into another way of expanding your consciousness.
Yeah. Well, again, it goes back to everything I ever want is inside of me. I just need to know how to tap into it, talking about the drugs and stuff. For me, it was a way of checking out. Like I was so emotional. Like, first of all, I'm a Cancer.
Me too.
I'm emotional just with that, I'm female, which makes it even, emotional more on top of that. So I feel deeply because I'm a highly sensitive person, and so I was feeling so deeply, and I had no outlet for those emotions, because if I showed my emotions, it was like, oh, why are you so dramatic? That's what I get from my dad. You're so dramatic, and it's like, well, I feel, and so I didn't know what to do with these emotions. So I would just numb them out, and do drugs and whatnot. And I remember being like, so I've had many sort of dips into the conscious realm. Like I started getting into, we'll say, personal development, exploring deeper levels of consciousness in high school. But again, it was sort of through misguided directions, I mean, I'm grateful for the experiences, because I probably wouldn't be who I am today, and I wouldn't know the expansiveness that I know today, and know that there are other things possible. But it was more of for me, what became my drug of choice was pot. So I was like major pothead, like 23 years, pretty much every day smoking pot, except for a couple times when I got arrested and had to take like pee tests and was not able to smoke pot. But the minute I was able to again, I'm back at it, you know? And I got to this point where I realized like this little plant has such control over my life in every aspect. It's no longer serving any purpose at all. Like, it's just like, it didn't even get high anymore. I was just rolling up joints and smoking them like they were cigarettes. Like, that's what it was for me. And it got to a point where I'm like, okay, I need to control this in some way. So I'd be like, okay, well, you can't get high till 5 o'clock. So that way you can at least work all day long. And then, you know, you can relax at night, whatever you want to call it. So, but I would find out I'm spending my whole day waiting till 5 o'clock, thinking about 5 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, I'm rolling up the joints. I'm getting them ready, you know, and I'm just like, this is insane. This is absolutely, when you talk about insanity, that is insane. This little plant is controlling my life, you know, and I think it was like, I don't know, 35, 36 or whatever. And I'm like, dude, grow up. Like, what are you doing? You're still like this, like, high school pothead loser, like, you know, getting nothing done, living in this illusion of you've got everything under control and you've got nothing under control. Like, you are being controlled, you know? And for me, I remember it was New Year's Eve from 2005 into 2006. And I was like, all right, this is it. I'm going to start off fresh. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just going to do this thing. And, you know, New Year's Eve, I'm by myself in my house, just smoking tons of joints, smoking myself into an oblivion, and woke up the next day. I'm like, okay, all right, this is sobriety. This is how we're living from now on. Like, nothing's controlling me other than me, you know? And it was a process of just, you know, first it started with diet, like, because actually, ironically, I started to become vegan. I was working out a lot. I was bodybuilding. And a friend of mine was like, you know, you're such a hypocrite. You're talking about being healthy, but you're smoking pot. And she was sending me all this information about like what pot does to the brain. And, you know, and I've actually learned now through my energy work that any kind of drugs, they put holes in your auric field.
Yes.
So you're susceptible to stuff coming in, which is why.
With cheese, you know, and then
yeah, exactly.
Any old dark energy that wants to manipulate you can come in through your energy body Swiss cheese.
Yeah. And
that's
like, and that's part of my commitment and requirements as a conscious transformation energy practitioner is I'm not allowed to do drugs. I'm not allowed to smoke cigarettes, which I haven't done in years anyhow. I haven't done drugs in 12, 13 years. Drink in like moderation, which is like,
yeah, because even the alcohol, the alcohol can do that. So you really got to be careful. Like, I had some on my birthday. I had cocktails on my birthday. I was like, woohoo, I'm going to town on my birthday. And then I was like, okay, clear my energy, called in all my guides, like, clear the whole thing up before I go to bed. Like, like, just take that off, you know, because you don't really want that, you know, lots of water to flush it out of your physical body. Like, yeah, I mean, it's not like you can't have it, but it's just not something that you want to do on a regular basis. Yeah,
because it doesn't serve, you know.
No,
and
it's fun for a little bit, but, you know.
Yeah. And so it's just been a process of really looking at, one, sort of tapping back into that emotional body of mine, which I had been so out of touch with for so long. Like, I feel like now I'm like, I probably have the emotional intelligence of maybe like a 13-year-old who was raised in a very loving environment, let's say, you know, so that they could really cultivate emotional intelligence, you know, like emotionally, that's probably my age, you know, well, let's say, even though I'm going to be 50 in a couple weeks, you know, I still find myself like, like I have this little chime that goes off on my phone every hour. It's kind of like a check-in. Okay, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What is my state? Where am I going as far as my vision is? And just sort of checking in. And there's still sometimes I'll check in, I'll be like, you know, I don't actually know what I'm feeling right now. I don't know what this emotion is. I don't know how to describe it, what it is. And I have like a little sheet that's got like, you know, 500 emotions on it. And I'll just like run through and be like, oh, well, maybe that's it. And sometimes I've got to go to the dictionary and cross-reference. Oh yeah, I think that's kind of what I was feeling. So it's just been a process of really growing my emotional intelligence, but by way of fully feeling them, not like allowing them to express, like if I'm angry, getting like, rah, like that. I'm angry, let me get into a place of like a power pose so I can train my body in a different way, because all emotions actually have a physical manifestation, right? And the way to grow emotional intelligence is to really sort of, when that, let's say, fear-based emotion comes on, instead of allowing it to express as like rage would be, maybe I'm going to punch something, like I've broken my hand by punching my van several times, really intelligent, because that's how I knew how to deal with rage. You hit things, you get angry, you throw things around. So if I do something differently, if I go, oh, I'm angry right now, let me get myself in a centered place and let me feel that anger internally, which is, it's kind of a hard feeling to describe, but it's like, I'm not denying it, I'm not repressing it, I'm still allowing it to express, but I'm not physically acting out on it. So allowing that emotion to just have its, basically, like science has proven now that emotions, fear-based emotions, have roughly a 90-second lifespan. So if you can just let that emotion come and do its thing and move through you and, you know, be aware of it, acknowledge it, you know, be like, oh yeah, I'm angry in this moment. And it's okay. It's okay to have any emotion. You know, it's just a natural human expression, and to give ourselves permission to feel it, because it's not okay to be angry. It's not okay to be angry, but it is okay to be angry.
Well, it's arguing with what is. And that's like Byron Katie saying, you know, it doesn't make any sense to argue with what is.
Yeah.
If you are feeling angry, then you are actually in this moment feeling angry.
Yeah. Right.
So let it pass through. You don't want to hold on to that or deny it so that it gets repressed and put in your cellular tissue. I think that's the thing people have a hard time with, is letting that 90-second period. It's just 90 seconds. You can deal with anything for 90 seconds. And some people are like, well, I've been angry for 3 decades. It's like, well, that's a different problem.
Right.
That's attaching stories to the feeling and regenerating the feeling.
Exactly.
So if you detach the story from the feeling and just have the experience, it'll be gone in like 90 seconds and you can get on with your day.
Right. But that's the hard part. Like, that's the work, because we're so conditioned to, well, of course I should feel angry. Like, they did this to me and they did that to me.
And the story comes in and it's
victim, blah, blah, blah. Where it's like, if you just like, hey, you know what? I'm angry. It's okay. I'm choosing to take responsibility for this. I'm choosing to be accountable for my emotion, because it's in me, or I wouldn't be feeling it if it wasn't in me, you know? And just allowing that process to happen, but detaching from it at the same time. And then just breathing through it, you know, start breathing. We do like a 4-sided breath practice. And then you can actually feel yourself shift. And it's very different than, I'm going to intellectualize, I'm going to rationalize, I'm going to stuff, I'm going to eat, I'm going to smoke, I'm going to drink, I'm going to, like, whatever is your go-to method of not dealing with your emotions. Like, the true power comes from, okay, I'm in this, it's here. Here it is again, this thing. Like, when I first came to the work of conscious transformation, I was seriously depressed, like on the verge of suicide, suicidal thoughts, like, and you talk about like the 90-second, I call it the 90-second rule, was my best friend, because it was like it seemed like that's all I did was cry. And I'm like, God, I'm so tired of crying. But I knew, because I had experienced it, if I just do this work and allow this thing to move through me for 90 seconds, it's going to keep getting better and better and better. And that's what it did. It kept getting better and better and better. And it wasn't denying it. It was like, yeah, I'm sad. My dog died. The love of my life died. Of course, that's justification. Of course, I should be sad for that. But how many years do I want to be sad for that? You know, how long do I want to be sad for that? It's like, instead, just feel the sadness when it comes up, allow it to express and move through it, and it completely shifts it and completely changes the relationship with it, you know? And like, that's been the biggest process for me as far as like expanding my consciousness, is growing emotional intelligence, because emotions are also our first language, you know? Like, we're learning emotions in the womb because we're picking up the vibrational frequency, because emotions are just vibrational frequencies. They all have different frequencies that they live in. And I'm just picking up the vibrational frequency of whatever my mother is experiencing while I'm in the womb. So I'm getting imprinted with that. I'm getting imprinted with my birth experience, the emotions going on there. I'm getting imprinted with my first, year, 2 years of life where I don't have speech yet. I don't have mind, intellect to be able to talk about and process what I'm feeling. So the emotions are the first language that we have. So emotional intelligence, they're even showing now within science, is way more important than intellectual intelligence, because you can be a genius, but if you don't have control of your emotions, like you could be crazy ballistic and just off the charts, like appearing to be bipolar, because you don't have a way to manage your emotions. I want to say control, because you can't control them. They're going to
kind of like that inner strength, cultivating that inner resilience. The way I like to talk about it is being a tree. It's like having those deep roots and being grounded, so that your core is very strong from processing things at 90-second intervals. It's like cross training for emotions, and you can get really strong doing that. And then things can happen, and you're not like the tail being wagged by the dog. And I think that really seems to be what this whole conversation was about. Are you going to let things wag you, or are you going to be the one that does the wagging? Are you going to direct, or are you going to be the one that's like sort of flung around the room?
Yeah.
And, and the other thing I was thinking of, because I was thinking about people who may be addicted and might be watching us back. And I'm thinking, well, they're probably thinking, yeah, but I like getting high, and that's my only way that I know of getting high, and that's my only way I know of being happy. And I want to counter that, and I want to say, and I wanted you to speak to that, but what I was thinking was, you didn't know that was going to feel that way before you ever took the drug, and you were surprised by that.
Yeah.
So you're hearing other people telling you can get more high than the drug than you ever imagined doing this other work, this conscious transformation work and energy work. I get so high sometimes, Astrum, that I feel like I'm stoned. I walk around stoned a lot of the time, because I'm so high.
Yeah.
Especially after I've been meditating, or I've done some healing sessions with people. Like, I am super high. Talk about that for a sec.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I have this thing called Movie Pass, which is where you can go see one movie a day, like unlimited at any theater type of thing. And so I've kind of been taking myself on dates, right? And I remember like going to see this one movie. I think it was maybe the Melissa McCarthy movie, Life of the Party. And sometimes I just like to watch stupid, funny movies, and I found myself after the movie, like, really feeling stoned, like big time, like just giddy, giggly, don't even know what the hell I'm laughing at. And I'm walking out of the theater and I'm just like giggling. I'm like, I don't know. And then like, I can't find my car. And I'm like, I'm like having such a stoner moment right now. And I'm completely sober, and I'm laughing about this. And the more I'm thinking about how I'm like high on life, I'm laughing even more. And then I'm like, I swear to God, my car moved. Like, I know I parked it there, and I don't know how it got over there, But yeah, I mean, I continually like am walking through life, like really, but it's a different stone. You know what I mean? It's not that foggy, that fogginess that comes with being stoned. It's like being stoned without the foggy, like where you're just really.
It's not a low vibration stone. It's not the kind where you want to be still.
Joy and.
Yeah, it's like a high vibration, like where you just want to go, wow, like this is so cool.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like you can't describe, you have to experience it. And
I guess it's a little bit more like mushrooms, because you feel like that sense of awe and interest and curiosity in things.
Yeah.
And the perception.
Yeah, there's like a lot of clarity.
A lot of clarity. Yeah, a lot of clarity.
And presence.
Yeah, presence.
Yeah.
Yeah, and presence with what is. And even if it's difficult, like, it's still okay, because it'll pass. Yeah.
And then, the other thing about like the unknown, it's like, we kind of live in this illusion thinking that things are known. Like we get in our routine of like, I get up from this side of the bed, and then I go and I brush my teeth, and and this is my routine. And because it's familiar, it's like known. But at the same time, if you stay within the known, you're not really growing anymore, And Joe Dispenza talks about this a lot. He's another one of my favorite teachers. And, ever since kind of embodying his teachings as well, like I'll try to do my morning routine different every day. And I developed this frozen shoulder thing on my right side, and I'm normally right-handed. So over this past year, I've kind of become ambidextrous because I've had to use my left hand more. So sometimes I'll like purposely brush my teeth with my left hand, or, just do things differently so that I'm stimulating different neural pathways, creating new neural pathways, and breaking the habit of being myself, so that I can get comfortable with the unknown. Because there's nothing that stays the same other than change. Like change is the only constant in this current, 3D world that we live in. We can count on things changing, and the weird thing is that's the thing that screws us up the most, is we don't want change. Like our little, ego mind, reptilian brain wants everything to stay the same, everything to be the same, nothing to change. We just want to be able to survive another day. And if we can do that, things are good.
But surviving is not thriving.
Right.
Surviving is like you, like, I don't even care, people, if you're doing drugs or not, it doesn't matter. Surviving is you at work going, okay, it's 12. I like 4 more hours. Okay, I'm just going to get through it. I'm going to get through it. And then like you start to plan at 4 o'clock, like, okay, I'm going to be off in an hour. Okay, great. And like and getting through it. And then like 5 o'clock, wow, I'm free. Now I can have my glass of wine. Now I can have my like reward for torturing myself all day.
For 8 hours.
What the heck?
Right.
Like, why do that? I don't understand. Why do that? If you aren't fulfilled by what you're doing all day long, this is what I think to myself. I don't know how many hours I have left on this planet. And I say it that way intentionally. I don't know how many hours I have left on this planet. But I don't want to spend any of them doing something I don't want to do.
Yeah.
I want to spend all of them intentionally living to my fullest, so that when I go out, I'm like, yeah, like that was a wild ride. Like, wow, I was really present. I really enjoyed it. I really engaged. I really loved my family. I really loved my purpose. I did everything. I tried all these new things. I have all of this like experience in my bag of tricks that I bring with me as a soul. Like, yeah. And I didn't limit myself with BS.
Yeah.
I didn't sit and like waste 8 hours of my day every day doing something I hate just so I could pay the bills and I could go home and like have a house and whatever else I thought I needed to buy. It's so empty to me.
Yeah.
Now that I know this life, like that's so empty.
Yeah. 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 It goes back to, we create our life. Like we really create our life, and we create it by the thoughts we think and by the state that we embody, And I think what a lot of people get focused too much on are like goals and benchmarks and kind of things like that, instead of thinking about taking on a different perspective and looking at like, what's a vision that I want to have for my life? Meaning, what states do I want to embody in my life? Do I want to be in peace? Do I want to be in joy? Do I want to be in divine love, in gratitude, appreciation? And do I want to live my life through that experience? And then if I do, like whatever states you choose that you want to embody, then you look at what are the things that I'm going to be doing because I am already joyful, because I am already fulfilled, because I'm already
not trying to get it.
Yeah.
I just am it,
Right.
Because let's even just take my example I just gave, like the job that you're just like trying to get through. Like, I just hate it.
Yeah.
A different person having your same life experience could go, I'm going to be completely present in a state of joy with this work for the abundance that it brings my family.
Yeah.
And I'm going to really do my best to be of service to whatever clients I'm servicing, or my boss, or my coworkers, or I'm going to spread joy and love through this building. I'm going to see it as my purpose. Like, it could be a whole different way of spending the day in that same exact job, same person.
And you'll have a totally different experience.
Totally different experience.
And it's all your creation.
Yeah.
You know, how do you want to show up? Like, how do you want to experience your day? Do you want to experience your day as suffering? Well, you can choose that. I don't know why you'd want to, but you can have joy anywhere. It's just you need to choose to embody joy.
You know,
okay, what can I do right now that I can experience, that I can see joy through, you know, and bring that to the table instead of like, oh my God, I gotta work.
Well, I think we can all agree that, like, for example, the trash man, that's a hard job. That is not my favorite idea of a job for myself, is a trash collector. One day I saw this trash collector. He was so freaking happy. Like, he was singing and whistling and like, good morning, and grabbing the trash and like putting it up there and doing that. And he was just like practically dancing around the truck. I was like, wow. And that was right around the time that I was bitching about my job and I hated my job. But yeah, I've been there too. That's how I got here. Yeah. I was like, wow, I could be taking this a whole different way rather than seeing this as torture that I have to get through in order to get my money. I could be like this garbage guy right here. He's singing and whistling. He's excited.
Yeah.
So, yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, define your day, you know, define your day. How do you want to experience this day? Do you want to experience it through suffering, or do you want to take on some joy and move through the day with joy, no matter what comes at you? Be that calm in the eye of the storm. No matter what's going on around me, I'm going to be joy, and I'm holding to it, and that's it. You know, and if I get triggered, I'm going to move through my 90 seconds and bring myself back to that joy, because I don't have any more time. Like you talked about, like, how many hours do I have left on this planet, you know, in this life? It's like, okay, I'm giving whatever fear-based emotion pops up, it's 90 seconds, and then we're moving back into joy, because I don't have time for that crap. You know what I mean?
Like, totally. I don't have time for that crap.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, that's great. And you know what? And maybe take a lesson from Astrum and be adventurous. Because I want to cycle back to that for just a second. We're going to be wrapping up in a sec, but I just want to say, like, you may have gotten the idea from your parents' expectations that, you know, how you were being, was there something wrong with you being the way you were being, right? And then we can get that idea about ourselves in life. But I think you've clearly demonstrated that you're still being you. You're still being that same kid that took risks and tried new things and said, well, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to try it. And that's exactly the thing that's getting you where you're going now. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not to say that there's not fear that comes up. You know, like at some point in every day, there's some fear thing that comes up. There's an I'm not good enough. There's a, oh, they're better than me, or, you know, whatever. Like, I get triggered just like everybody else, but I know that I can't live inside of that anymore. Like, I've really taken on this aspect of, you know, for a while there, I was in mediocrity. I was really living inside of mediocrity. And that's why I wanted to die, because it sucked, you know, but realizing that I created that, like, owning that was really hard. Like, owning that I created my mediocrity crap life that I hated so much.
That's tough.
It was a process, you know. It was like, oh, wow, you know, because then that brings up a whole nother round of emotions. But yeah, it's just like really stepping into, like, I have a vision. My vision is to inspire, uplift, and empower people to step into their greatness. My vehicle for that is my music. And I look at every day, what can I do today that will inspire, uplift, and empower just one person to step into their greatness? You know, what's something I can take on that I can do to make that happen for somebody, you know? And even if it's like this interview, just being interviewed and somebody hears something and just resonates and busts them wide open so that they can step into something new and give themselves permission to step in out of that comfort zone into the fear and just like do it anyhow. Like, if your life is not in immediate danger and you're not about to die, then do that thing that you're fearful of. Just go do it, because what you want is on the other side of that, and it's going to be so magnificent and so much better than you've ever known anything ever to be. And then you'll look back and be like, what the hell was I so afraid of? You know?
Exactly.
And then if you keep doing that, it like just builds. And so you're just like, keep on stepping into things, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, Astrum is a beautiful musician. She's got lots of conscious music, and you can find out. And she's also a conscious transformation energy practitioner. And she is. I've had several of her sessions, and they're like pretty awesome. Really kind of trippy, actually. So I think it's because it's you. But I haven't done this work with anybody else, the conscious transformation work, so I can't say that for sure that it's not just this work, but I think it's Astrum. So it's pretty great. So check out her website, and if you reach out to her from her website and mention this broadcast, she'll give you a free conscious transformation energy session, which is such a great deal. Yeah. And her website is astrumluxlucis.com, AstrumLuxLucis.com, and that is in the show notes for today, so you can access it. Just click the link. And thank you so much for being with us, Astrum. What a delight to share your story and your energy and your vibe, and your whole journey is like so inspiring for people who have maybe been on addiction or been depressed. I mean, what an amazing journey. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm grateful to be on your show. Grateful you had me. And, you know, if anybody out there listening, you just want to talk, you need somebody to listen to, I'm a good space holder. And I'd be happy to, you know, listen to you and share if you want to share. So I'm up for that too.
Awesome. Very awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Astrum. So glad to have you on the show. And see you guys next time on Skills Not Pills. Our next interviews will be next week. So see you then.
All right. Bye.
Bye.